So welcome to WTF Stories and Advice. I'm Caroline Cranshaw, hypnotherapist and advice giver, as well as storyteller. And today I have the one and only Jimi Hunt, mental fitness expert. We recorded this a few weeks ago, answering a listener's letter. And it's a letter discussing some issues they're having with some jealousy and social media. So I think it's pretty interesting. Hopefully you do too. And I think it's for anyone who's ever had any issues with jealousy or boundaries in a relationship. And we talk about our own experiences and how I've acted like a big old psycho in the past. So I hope you enjoy it. But we have a question I thought would be helpful.
Yep.
Especially from a male point of view.
I am a male.
Yes, you are.
I will give you my point of view.
Okay, cool. So, here we go. Hello. Let me start off by saying I really love your podcast. I'm a longtime listener, and this is my first time writing in. I'll get right to my question. Thank you.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Welcome.
Yeah. I'm about to celebrate my 1-year anniversary with my so-I-thought dream boyfriend that has the potential to be husband material. I am insecure at times and started looking at what he likes on Instagram. I fully admit that looking for a reason to question the relationship is crazy. He really likes to comment and like promiscuous pictures of girls he follows. I've spoken to him about this, and he assures me he is very happy in our relationship and I have nothing to worry about. However, he continues to do so, and it really makes me feel like there's something lacking in our relationship. We have wildly amazing sex and see eye to eye on most topics. We also live together and talk about starting a family and getting married. My question is, are my feelings of insecurity, jealousy, frustration, anger validated? Also, when he says, "You're beautiful," it's hard for me to trust him when he says something like that to me, because the girls he likes on Instagram look nothing like me. They're tattooed and glammed up to the nines. My boyfriend is a photographer and has shot pictures of very attractive girls before. So is this something I need to learn to accept, or is he in the wrong? I really do love him and want to marry him, but this keeps happening and creating waves in our relationship. I want to be okay with this, but it's very hard for me. Do I need to work on myself to be happy and content in my own skin more than I already am? I'll add he wants to take pictures of me in lingerie to show me that I'm beautiful. I would definitely feel out of my comfort zone doing that. She talks about, she does a lot of riding horses and doing events, and that's something she's comfortable with. Thank you for reading, taking the time to respond. I hope I didn't leave any critical information out. P.S. Writing from Santa Cruz, California. Cool. Thank you for your question. Now, Jimmy, from a male point of view, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, they're both wrong. That's fine. I mean, look, I find so many women very attractive. So many. Mm-hmm. There are so many beautiful women in this world. And to pretend that I did not find them attractive would be just a gigantic fucking lie. Mm. And so there's a big difference between, like, if we go down the street, me and my wife, if we go down the street and there's a hot girl and I look at her, my wife's like, yeah, she is hot. Mm. You know, yeah, fuck, she is. And she turned my head. Now, my wife is not insecure because she understands that I would never even get close to jeopardizing what we have to, run off and try and pursue some random girl on the street or on Instagram or anything like that. So, like, my wife is not jealous in that regard. She is very content in who she is, and she doesn't pretend to be as hot as as the girls on Instagram, even though I think she is anyway. And so, yeah, you've got to be absolutely less jealous and judgmental in that regard. And you've got to be not scared of losing this. Like, if he's going to be a fuckwit and he's going to go and cheat on you, that's good to know. Get that out of the way as soon as possible. Go find someone else. Yeah. Now, the fact that he likes and comments on hot girls' Instagrams, and she didn't really say exactly what he was commenting on, what he was saying in his comments, but if you look at the behavior of a lot of men on pretty girls' Instagrams, like, it would be really interesting if we could just screenshot all of those and send them to all of their wives.
Yep.
Like, is this appropriate behavior? And the answer is quite often no. Yeah. And so, if, like, I have friends who are professional fashion photographers, and I will comment on their Instagram photos of stunningly beautiful women, and my comment will be, beautiful shot, great photo. A friend posted one the other day, and I was like, that dress is stunning on the photo. And then, like, if I'm talking to my photographer friend, both male and female, I might go, oh my God, that model that you had there is probably one of the most stunning women I've ever seen. But I'm not writing that on the photo.
No.
I'm saying it to my friend, and just an observation of, holy shit, that woman is just beautiful. Him liking and commenting on random Instagram models, in air quotes, can be a problematic behavior. And first of all, if my wife said, hey, Jimmy, it makes me feel really insecure and unloved that you do that, well, then I would stop doing that. Because you have to ask the simple question, which is, what is more important? Liking and commenting on random Instagram pages, or the happiness, the peace of mind and the security of your loved one? And there's obviously a balance in there of, like, if she is controlling and saying, you're not allowed to follow any hot girls on Instagram, then fuck you, there's issues there. And so we don't have the whole story on this, but which is why I started with, you're both wrong. you both have stuff that you need to look at in regards to this. And so the only way, and this is just relationships 101, the only way you figure all this stuff out is through absolute communication. Yeah. You need to sit down with each other and talk about these issues and ask, why do you feel the need to comment this lewd shit on their fucking things? What's driving that behavior in you? Because it really makes me feel unloved, not sexy, and makes me question our relationship. Yeah. Cool.
It's interesting. So I had this issue with my partner who edits my podcast. This will be an interesting one.
Hello.
Talking about you, Grant. And it was really interesting. So when we got together, and I remember following him on Instagram, and then out of stalkerish insecurity, and I was what they called a insecure attachment type when I met him. And so I was very anxious in relationships. I was convinced that all men cheat. And that
because you've been burned before many times.
Yes. Yeah. Because all men had cheated on me pretty much. Right. So I had this real belief. So it was like I felt like I was protecting myself by probably going through shit I shouldn't, reading things I shouldn't, being like a private detective. And looking at his Instagram and seeing that basically it looked like he followed a bunch of fucking strippers, right? Like, these women, what the fuck? And it really did trigger this huge insecurity in me. And I was like, this really makes me feel uncomfortable. And he's like, it's got nothing to do with you, right? It's not, I think you're beautiful, but I like to look at beautiful women. And he has never cheated on anybody his entire life. Like, this guy has never cheated. I can't say the same. And so, but he wouldn't comment. He would just follow them, and he might like some, but he wasn't like making like, ooh, I'm going to fucking wank to this or anything like that.
Same as me. I do the same thing. I have girls on my Instagram that I follow. Yeah. And what's interesting is how we differ in that, and why Libby would probably, I mean, she knows I follow a bunch of people and everything, but like the girls I follow are far less stripperish and modelish and far more lovely and really pretty.
Yeah. No, we're talking straight up whores with what yeah, no, oh, I shouldn't even say that. That's a terrible thing to say. We're talking, yes, very, very, yeah, I get you what you mean with the whole like very glamorous look. Yeah. I mean, these girls, I think now would have OnlyFans pages, right? So I had to talk to him about it, and he said, I'm really not doing anything wrong, and I don't know what your problem is, and I am never going to cheat on you, and it doesn't make me look at you and find you any less attractive. I just am a man, and I like looking at attractive women. And so I was like, okay. So what I did was I started following a whole bunch of fucking really beefy-looking men. And I made this is so fucking immature, but this is what I did. I noticed he followed me on Pinterest. And so then I made a Pinterest board that was like, oh yeah, or something like that. And then I put so many photos of like really hot guys on it. And he noticed it and was like, what's up with the Pinterest? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, you have like some board with like a whole bunch of like almost naked, like muscle dudes. What's up with that? And I was like, I am a woman and I like to look at hot men. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean when I look, and I just repeated his words fucking back to him. And he was point taken. Okay. And so we've never argued about it since. I noticed that he definitely not unfollowed, but it wasn't quite as bad. But the other thing, this is so bad. I went on his phone and I unfollowed like the most like stripperiest. Look at what? It is a go. I know. I can't believe I'm admitting. I mean, this is like a while ago. And I just stopped looking, actually. I stopped looking because I thought, right, if I act like a jealous, crazy person, which is what I used to do in the past, I'm going to end up creating the same dynamic.
Correct.
And when I look at attractive men or women, I don't sit there and look back at my partner and go, nah. I don't think like that. I do appreciate both very attractive men and women. And so I thought, right, I just have to get over myself. And I did. But I did some work on myself of trusting that no matter what, I was going to be okay. That if he was going to cheat on me, which I didn't feel like he was, that then he wasn't the right person for me. And
that's exactly it. Like that's the biggest point of them all. Like if you had that whole Pinterest thing and I was dating you, and I'm like, is that what you want? And you're like, yes. I'm like, well, good luck to you. I'm not that person. So if that's what you want, off you go and have a good time. Yeah. Or is that just what you went to? You're like, yeah. You're like, have fun.
I don't even wink to men. That's the thing.
No, a lot of women don't.
No, I know. That's funny.
And that's the point, is that if you are not enough for them, leave the relationship because you'll never be enough for them. Yeah. Oh, if only I do this, then I'll be enough for him. No, you fucking won't. Yeah. You will not. And so if he is exhibiting behavior, or she is exhibiting behavior that shows that they want something else and that they're not, satisfied with you as you are and they're trying to change you, then that relationship's not going to fix itself and it's not going to get any better and you're just wasting time. So, I mean, the biggest thing that stops people leaving relationships is fear. Yeah. You're afraid that you won't find somebody else, and you fucking will. You absolutely will. And if you can't, that's a good thing because you probably need to do some work on yourself. Yeah.
And I think, it's interesting. I'll get clients that come to me and they're like, I want you to hypnotize me so I'll be totally free of that fear that people will cheat on me, and I want to believe that I'll never be cheated on again. And I go, well, you could be. Like, and they look at me like, you're not helping. And I'm like, the thing is, what you need to trust is not that you need to trust that someone's never going to cheat on you. What you need to trust is no matter what, you're going to be okay.
Exactly.
And that if someone cheats on you and fucks you over, then they're not the one for you, and you're going to meet someone way better.
Yeah. And as I said, you came at me when my wife had cheated on me, then left me, then we found out she was pregnant and had to figure out whose it was. Like, horrible, horrible shit.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Best thing that ever happened to me. Best thing that ever happened to me in my entire life is that. I have Guinness World Records. I have all sorts of things. That was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Exactly.
Like, this is what we don't understand is perspective. We don't have that in the moment. And we feel like we're not worthy in the moment when that sort of stuff happens. And we fear that we'll never have something as good as that. Well, first of all, what you just had is shit. They cheated on you, or it's not working for whatever reason. So, like, life is too short to fucking stay around with people that don't think you're worthy of them or are causing problems and drama in your life.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing is, from everything she's describing, besides that one thing, everything else is good.
Yeah, exactly, which is wonderful. And so to get back to her, I think we're still answering her questions, aren't we?
Yeah.
The simplest thing, you just got to sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
And you never talk about it when you catch them in the act. Like, don't see him scrolling and go, right, now's the time to have a discussion about how these whores that you follow on social media and you come out with stuff. No, not a good time to do it. You set out a time where you're both in your parasympathetic nervous system, you're both in your calmest state, and you say, look, here's how I'm feeling right now. These are the things I would like to discuss. Can we have a nice chat about those right now? Because I'd really like to find some solutions because I love everything about our relationship except for these couple of things. And I think we can, at least come to an understanding around these things.
And I think, and no matter what, whatever relationship, there's always going to be something. And the purpose of relationships is not just to have a happy life. It's to bring up your shit so you can work on it, right? So he's obviously, for you, bringing up some insecurities and some fears that you need to address. I think that if your partner didn't trigger you in some ways, then it's going to be a really boring relationship, right? You're going to want out of there pretty soon.
Yeah, the greatest teacher you'll ever have is the person most intimate to you. Yeah. And quite often that will be your husband or your wife. And I think people have these ridiculous ideals about relationships because they never see the insides of them. And even if you are privileged enough to have parents who are still together in a beautiful marriage, like, you got the outside child's view that they gave to you. Yeah. You've got no fucking idea what conversations they were having in the bedroom or when you were out, and you've got no idea what they worked themselves through. Yeah. And so you have this sort of glorified version of it in your head. And instead, look at your intimate partner as the greatest gift. And this can be an intimate partner of any description over time, even a short-term boyfriend or girlfriend. The intimate partner is the greatest gift you could ever have to allow you to gain self-awareness about shit that's getting brought up, and then allows you somebody to help you work on it with you. Yeah. Like, what a fucking beautiful thing. And yet most of us do not bother engaging in that process. No. We will either deny it or push it down or have break up, have surface level arguments about it.
So true.
Libby and I, we've been together almost 10 years, and we have disagreements semi-regularly. And every time there is one of those semi-regular disagreements, we laugh at each other and go, it's your work this time. Fuck you. No, it's your work. No, we know it's your work. And we have to go off and do that fucking work.
Yeah.
Because it's never a problem with the relationship. The relationship is never the problem. Only the individuals inside the relationship have the problems. And you can either work together to sort them out or let them fuck everything up.
Yeah. And that's what most people do. Because it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable to deal with your shit. It's uncomfortable to face your insecurities and to change. And so people go, oh, this is too high. They're an asshole. They look through, they find as many reasons of why that's not going to work out. And then they go and do the same thing over and over with the next guy. So it's It's fascinating. But I don't think he's wrong and you need to get rid of him. I think it's something that you need to address.
Oh, no, not at all.
And I think really expressing that this is how I feel, this is what happens for me, and I would just appreciate it if you could not do the drooling emoji all over those women's things.
He does need to address his behavior. It's not a healthy behavior to have an intimate partner and be commenting on a whole bunch of hot girls things.
Yeah.
That's not a healthy behavior. There's something underneath that's driving it, and it's symptomatic. The writing of the thing is a symptom of a deeper problem, and he needs to figure out what that problem is and look at addressing it.
Yeah.
Because it's probably popping up in other places too.
And I think it also could be some people are subconsciously causing drama.
Yeah.
If they keep doing things or they get a payoff with their partner being jealous.
Yeah.
Like a question I would ask is, have you had this issue before with another partner? Has this happened before? Or is this the first time? Because I don't think it's normally a new thing. Right? Like if he's had other girlfriends, it sounds to me like it probably would have been an issue before. But I would just look for that, because sometimes we'll have these roles we want to play or these dynamics that we want to act out. And it could be that some part of him wants to make you jealous. And maybe a woman being jealous could be a way he feels loved.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, like, for example, to go back to you, you said that, you had been cheated on a bunch of times previously, right? Previous to this relationship.
Yeah.
And now you have a relationship with a man who has never cheated on anybody. So therefore you should feel safe, but earlier on you did not, right? And so because of your understanding of the way the universe works and energy works, and you basically attracted those men to cheat on you over and over again. Yeah. Did you learn that lesson, which has then come through into this relationship to allow it not to manifest again?
Yeah, because I identified it. Because I was looking at my beliefs around men, and I just know it's like a good way to find out what your beliefs are is say all men, and I would say cheat.
Yeah.
Or, all women. Yeah. All women are bitches.
Yeah.
Or gold diggers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's uncovering, digging out those beliefs, because that's what I attracted over and over, because that's what I believed men were. And when I realized that, went, right, I need to change my beliefs around men and believe that not all men, but men are loyal. Men can be caring and sensitive. And
how did you change your beliefs around men?
I started writing them down. I started telling myself them. One really effective technique I find is to write it down on a piece of paper, like over and over. Like I'll write it 9 times, or I'll write it 3 times, like men are loyal and emotionally stable and sensitive. Whatever new belief I want to have, I'll write it 3 times, and then I'll change hands and I'll write it with my other hand 3 times, which feels very awkward and a bit triggering.
Yeah.
But that really seems to shift stuff as well. So I think it's just starting to tell myself that new story. Hypnosis is a great way to change beliefs.
Yeah, but you can do it without the hypnosis, with the constant conscious choices around rewiring those neural pathways just through practice, like you were saying. Yeah. Writing is a very powerful thing to be able to do that.
Yeah, and when you write with your non-dominant hand, I think it then accesses the other side of your brain, and it's another way. I'm really into integrating things into both hemispheres.
Yeah.
And
yeah, well, it requires a lot more processing, so therefore it goes deeper and harder if you have to do it with the opposite hand.
Yeah, because it's not just natural, it just flows out.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to think about it more. But that's how I did it. I made my list and I put that on there, and that was like I basically manifested it right away. So it's interesting.
Yeah, but then you manifested it, but then you started to deal with it in the start of the relationship because your belief structure still hadn't changed yet, even though you were working on it at the start of the relationship.
I think I had shifted it, so I attracted someone who didn't have that dynamic, but I think I obviously still had more to work on, and so I think it was this situation came up so that I really could clear it, because I think that if that hadn't come up, I don't think I would be as secure in my relationship. I wouldn't be. But nothing really changed. I just let it go.
Yeah.
And I unfollowed a whole bunch of the women so I could see it. Because I'm not controlling. No. But it really was all about me. So I don't know. Men like to look at scantily clad women. It's
correct
what they do. Most women like looking at scantily clad women. We just aren't as open about it.
No, exactly. But this is the thing, is to deny the base nature of the animal that we are is as detrimental to us as trying to embrace it.
Yeah.
So the whole, I am a male Homo sapien primate that is designed to look and be attracted to the opposite sex in order to procreate and extend my lineage, blah, 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 science. Yeah. And so I said that in almost like the first or second date with Libby. I was like, I don't remember how it came up, but we're talking about a bunch of stuff. And I was like, yeah, just so you know, I will be looking at all of the other women. And she's like, oh, no one's ever said that at the start of a relationship. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be looking because they're pretty. Yeah. And does that mean you want to have sex with them? Yes, it does mean that I want to have sex with them. I find them very sexually attractive. Does that mean you are going to have sex with them or try to have sex with them? No, it does not. Yeah. And that's a very different. I have self-control. I have perspective. I have understanding about what I actually want in a relationship outside of my base needs. Yeah. So when you can have those conversations openly, because how many dudes walk down the street trying to pretend to not look at the girl with the low-cut top? Yeah. Like most of them. And if the wife catches them, they get a slap.
I'm normally looking more than he is on the street. It's quite funny.
Exactly.
I'm way worse. He's quite good at not. I find that quite disrespectful, personally, if a guy, literally cranes his head to look at another woman.
Yeah, you've got to give the side eye. Yeah. You've got to get good at this game. Yeah.
The head still. Move just the eyes. Come on.
Yeah, something out of your bag at the same time. At least put some sort of move on there to be able to look in that direction.
A good movie that talks about that is Hall Pass. Have you seen that one? Quite funny.
I have not, but I understand the premise from the title.
Yeah, and it was the men thought it was going to be this amazing thing, and it was actually the women that had a lot of fun. But the guys were doing all this stuff of pretending to, covering up the fact they were looking at women, and the women were like, "Oh Jesus Christ, look at that!" They just would see right through them. It was good. So, well, I hope that answers your question and is helpful. And just because other women are attractive doesn't mean that you're not either.
Yeah.
I mean, show me a beautiful woman and I'll show you a man tired of fucking her, right? No, sorry, that's really not helpful.
No, but that's the truth. The quote that I know from that is, show me a beautiful woman and I'll show you a man who's tired of her shit.
Yeah. That might be better.
But any man with any sort of fucking half a brain will understand that there's a massive difference between the woman you want to fuck and the woman you want to marry. Yeah. That's why the game's called Fuck, Marry, Kill. Yeah. because they're very different propositions. And it's interesting in relationships, the more you try and clamp down on the fuck part, and not necessarily the actual act of going and fucking somebody else, but just the desire to look at other women. The more you clamp down on that, the more likely they are to want to go do it. And the less likely they are to want to stay in a relationship with that.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it is the key to a happy relationship, is just let the other person be exactly who they want to be and do whatever the fuck they want to do.
And if that doesn't work for you, don't be in that relationship.
Yeah, and if they do things that are hurtful to you, you shouldn't be in a relationship with them. But I think there's always that learning phase and boundaries and all of that. You teach people how to treat you. So I think it's really just staying calm and explaining how you feel. And one technique I think that's really good is from Chris Voss, who wrote Never Split the Difference, Negotiating as If Your Life Depends on It. Do you know that one? Head hostage negotiator for the FBI. Mm-hmm. Amazing fucking book. One of my favorite books of all time. But his whole, this little trick of mirroring where you just repeat back a few words of what they say and you just keep doing that and it just backs them right into a corner. And you keep your voice calm and you just have that upwards inflection and it's whatever he says, just repeat it back. And it can help people get clear about what they're trying to do, and rather than being confrontational, however a conversation starts is normally how it's going to end, right? So if you start off confrontational, it's not going to end well for you.
Correct.
So, like you were saying.
Yeah, if you want to have chats and relationships, you have to set them up in a really nice, non-confrontational way where you're both in the right mind frame, you're both in the right situation to allow you to have a conversation that will end in an amicable and hopefully positive way.
Yeah.
And that never, ever happens if it starts with the argument.
Yeah. And it is like, what do they estimate? John Gottman's work, I just love his work. This relationship therapist who's also a mathematician, and he says how 86% or maybe even higher of the relationships you have in the beginning of the relationship, you're going to have at the end. Right? Like a lot of your issues you cannot resolve. So it's, can you live with them or not? Because most of the time they're not going to resolve. They're not going to change. So you just have to learn to deal with it.
Well, okay, I haven't read his book, I don't know, but I'm going to throw something out there. Quite often the research done in this space is about the general populace. Mm. And I would 100% agree that with the general populace, the way you go in is the way you come out, and that you're not going to resolve the relationships. But I think that is absolutely not necessarily the rule, because I 100% believe in my relationships that I can absolutely work through a lot of the issues with my partner and both, become better humans because of it, and therefore have a better relationship because of it. I think both Libby and I have made ourselves infinitely better people, and we both came in from cheating partners, and we both had our own different issues, all the way from the start of the relationship that we don't have now, because we openly communicated them. We actually assisted each other in working on our own shit to be able to do that. We gave each other a safe space to allow that to be the case. We had tensions, but we knew that we were bigger than the tensions, and our relationship was more important than those tensions. And so we rode those waves out and then came out in a much better place.
But you're not the general population.
No, but that's why that's why I bring up that point, because the general population listens to stats from the general population and then believes that is reality.
Yeah.
But that does not necessarily need to be reality.
No.
You can create a completely different reality. You just have to actually go in there and do the work to make that happen.
And this is what I like about this guy's work is, instead of just going, oh, well, this might work and this theory here, he put couples into a lab and he wired them up.
Yep.
And he'd get them to discuss the issues they were having. He studied what worked to resolve conflict and what exaggerated it. And so he really went into the science of it. So you can resolve, I think, most issues.
Yeah.
But it's having the right tools to do that. And
correct.
Relationships are...
And wanting to.
Exactly.
And wanting to.
And most people just get triggered and they want to make the other person wrong. And people don't want to do the work. They don't want to change. But it's like, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy?
Yeah. I mean, it's the classic relationship Instagram quote, which is, it's not you versus them. It's the two of you versus the problem.
Yeah.
And that's where so many people get wrong. The arguments are about you did this, this is the way you behaved, that you did this, so this causes that. Was like, well, actually, there's a problem here. Like, how can we work at this together as husband and wife or partner of whatever form? How do we work together to alleviate the symptoms that these problems are causing in our relationship? And that, I think we're still. Did you ever say that woman's name at the start? What was it? What was the name of the woman that sent the email?
I can't say.
Oh, right. I mean, we don't get. It's Sarah. I'm going to call her Sarah.
Okay.
So Sarah, that's the whole thing of being able to openly communicate these issues. Like when you sit down, it's not you telling him off for the way he's behaving. It's not him getting angry at you for being jealous. It's you guys sitting down as a team and going, these are the things that are going on right now. What can we do as a team to work together to alleviate these issues?
Yeah.
And we know that it's not you, it's never the behavior. It's the energy that drives the behavior that is the issue. And so when you sit down with the energy of we're a team looking for constructive ways to improve this, compared to I'm angry at you because you behave this way, going to get different results, vastly different results.
Absolutely. I think it is. We're not taught normally how to have good relationships or communicate properly, and the science is always evolving, and they're finding new techniques. But our relationships are normally our biggest source of joy and our biggest source of pain. So,
of course, because they're our biggest teachers.
Yeah, and so you need to learn about them. Go to therapy. Go to therapy now. That's my biggest thing with people is they wait to go to therapy until the relationship is almost unresolvable. Like it is too far gone. And if you just...
Do you do couples therapy?
Yeah, I do.
Do you think couples therapy works?
Yeah, when I do it. Most of the time.
Yeah, because my argument is that it's not a relationship problem, it's an individual problem.
Yeah. Well, I always see them individual first.
Right.
And then I'll bring them together.
Right.
And they're quite shocked when I bring them together because they have had a session with me and they're really like, oh, she is completely on my side. And then we get together and I'm like, right. Want my honest opinion of what's going on here?
Yeah.
And no, and I do it in a really kind way. And then I hypnotize them both together.
Yeah.
And hugely successful.
Yeah. So I get that. Yeah. My question, there's people that just go to couples therapy to try and fix their relationship.
Yeah.
And I think that's very different to going individually and then being together as a couple, because when you have them together as a couple, then you can teach them ways to work through the stuff together. I think that's incredibly powerful. But it's usually, one, if not both, subconscious behaviors that are driving some sort of issue in the relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're projecting and we're trying to heal our childhood wounds and all of that stuff. I find it fascinating. I love doing couples work. And I really want to do a podcast where I work with a couple, which I'm like, you and Libby.
Yeah.
Would you be interested in that?
We've got no secrets.
Yeah, well, I just...
And an interesting relationship.
Well, and it's, you guys are both really honest and open people and people who really want to have growth. I mean, I don't know if you have any issues, but I was just thinking the other day, God, I'd really like to do a podcast of talking to a couple and showing how that could be. In my first marriage, we went to 5 different marriage counselors.
Right.
And they all sucked except for one.
Yeah. But that's the same for pretty much all therapists.
Yeah.
That most of them suck except for a couple of good ones.
Yeah. It was so true. And they didn't want to see us individually. It was like, no, we need to work with you together. Some of them didn't want to hear what the problems were. And it was like, I'm just going to teach you to communicate better. And I mean, there might be a little bit of help, but the one that really did help, I mean, we still ended up getting divorced, but was an American woman, actually, who saw us individually and then saw us together. And then she said to me, you just need to break up. So,
sometimes that's the best advice.
It really was. And so I will say that to couples. And they're horrified. And like when I've done training in couples therapy, you should see the faces of the other therapists when I'm like, because they're like, oh, you never tell a couple to break up. I'm like, I do all the time, probably 50% of the time. I say, you two need to fucking break up. Because they both actually want to break up, but neither of them is being honest.
Exactly.
And
so many couples need to break up.
Yes.
I can't believe relationship therapists would say
that is the MO.
That's not one of the.
That is.
Yeah, that's not one of the things that they have in their arsenal. Oh, you should break up.
No.
That's like, yeah.
No, that's.
That'd be my tool 50% of the time.
Well, you're not going to make a lot of money if you tell couples to break up straight out the gate, are you?
No, I know.
Yeah.
That's part of the problem with the therapy model in general.
Yeah, exactly. But that, for me, was like, right, that honesty and just saying, and she just said some relationships have an expiry date. And I think your relationship, you guys have gone so far together, and I just don't think you're going to go any further. And I was like, thank you. And we actually ended up going to another one afterwards once we did break up, because at the time, New Zealand gave you 12 sessions of couples counseling if you were separating to work through your issues as you separate, which I think is fucking genius.
That's a fucking great idea.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, we got to 6 and we decided that we would try again. And then that didn't work. So then we did another 6. And that was helpful. That was helpful to help us work out like the co-parenting thing and dealing with a lot of the shit we had been torturing each other with. And I don't think they do that anymore, which is a real shame. But I think that's another reason to go to therapy. If you're breaking up and you're having all these conflicts, go. People will go for any reason to go to a financial advisor and all these other things. But your relationship, no. And they're like, oh, I don't want to spend the money on it. I'm like, well, divorce is expensive. Trust me.
Fucking A. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, that's my rant on that. But we've been talking a while, so we probably should wrap it up. But
wrap this up.
Thank you so much. It's been
no dramas.
Entertaining as usual. And if you want to find more about Jimi, and he does a lot of amazing corporate training and coaching, and you do all kinds of stuff, and you work with people from all around the world.
Everything.
Yeah, so you can find him at jimihunt.com.
Jimihunt.com, JIMIHUNT.com.
Yeah. The link will be below, but I highly, highly recommend him. And thank you.
I recommend me too.
Yes, good. So thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast, please give us a 5-star review and share it with your friends, and send us your questions and stories, because we enjoy not talking shit about it. We enjoy answering and giving our advice, because you're a know-it-all just like me, Jimi.
Exactly.
All right. Bye.